I did dream of my wedding growing up. And that's not to say that I didn't dream of the bigness of my life, but I could have spent a lot more time dreaming of my life. And, you know, as much as grief does surface for me around not having children and not having a partner, I still wouldn't want the wrong partner.
That's a great point for people to
at
hear.
all. I'm not interested in that. You have to make my life better. It can't just be, you know, I'm in a relationship to be in a relationship. So even though the grief does emerge and that comes and I hold that, I think of what I've done. And I think of, I woke up every morning trying to do my best. I didn't wake up one morning and be like, I'm going to mess this day up.
That's right.
So I must be where I'm supposed to be. And I don't know. Sometimes I think of all of the things I've done, the courage that I've had to have and what I've had to learn how to navigate as a single person with no one to hide behind.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is kind of sad, but not an uncommon moment for Tracee Ellis Ross. Talented actress, very accomplished woman, but every time I see her talk, man, she's always coming to terms with not being married, not having a husband. Now we know these are, you know, this is a panel of liberal people who are not going to use the term husband because they're not going to give you the satisfaction. Right? That's disrespectful. That's empowering the patriarchy. So they'll use terms like partner or anything else. But she's talking about struggling, not being able to find a husband or to find a husband that she believes meets her standards. More on that later. Imagine growing up and you want marriage, right? You want a wedding. This is Tracee Ellis Ross. This is the state of a lot of modern women who are successful in their career outside of their relationships. They're still looking for a man to get on that one knee. And Tracee Ellis Ross is kind of like a mascot, right? Like an archetype of a type of woman, usually the boss babe type. And this isn't the gold digger, Brittany Renner. You know, that's something that's a lot different. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like this is the accomplished corporate, or maybe a woman who was just really focused on her career in any field and realized in no time that, hey, I think I might have missed the opportunity to capitalize on the type of man who I wanted to marry because now I've outpriced myself out of the dating market. Let's keep listening. I got more to say. Interesting topic.
And it's built a really beautiful experience around me. And I have incredible friends.
You do.
Well, this is a good segue to get to our question.
All right. So we're going to move on. One thing I want to point out real quick, man, there were a lot of videos that were clowning this whole podcast. And it is interesting because before this, if someone asked me, hey, what if Michelle Obama started a podcast? Where would she be at as far as like start out subscriber rate? And I'm looking at the number she's at right now. She's at what, 88K subscribers right here. I would have at least guessed that she would have easily 500,000 heading towards 1 million subscribers. All I'm trying to say is YouTube is a very humbling platform. And I think for anybody, right, it takes a lot of work. And this is one of the only videos I've actually seen where people aren't just hating in the comment section down below. They're actually having this conversation. Last time I talked about Tracee Ellis Ross here, this is her IG page. I went on her IG page, and that was the biggest mistake I could have made in my life because I scrolled down, and you know what I saw? Nudity. I was like, why is she always getting naked, bro? And I didn't know that, but that would demonetize my video, right? One of the videos I did. And I have this theory. I've had this theory ever since then is I've thought, there you go, man. Right there. Right? There she is. Flashing her, what do we have? 11 million followers. I'm scared. There are other photos. I'm scared to go to the next one. But yeah, I thought about why is it that a woman who is, I think in her 50s, she's got to be in her 50s. Not that she looks it, but I just know, remembering back last time. Why do you have to flash? Why do you have to show your body? Why the nude poses? And then it hit me, man. When a woman doesn't get married, the fear probably comes from all different types of angles. One of those things is Who's going to enjoy? Who's going to have the pleasure of looking at my body? The female body is beautiful, right? Men love women for a reason, and a lot of that has to do with their bodies. And I'm convinced that if a woman doesn't find a husband who she can show that body to, and she doesn't have any type of value system in her life through a religion or something that would keep her from showing that to anybody else, then the world is going to see that body. The world will get to enjoy what her man, her husband otherwise would. Because you can't convince me that if she was married, she'll be with the man who'll be okay with this. This isn't like I'm just wearing something revealing. No, this is like flashing the camera and, showing off your body that way. I want to confirm her age real quick. Let's talk to our AI assistant barista, Miss Coffee. Miss Coffee, how old is Tracee Ellis Ross?
Tracee Ellis Ross is 52 years old, hun. She was born on October 29, 1972.
Damn. All right. So 52 years old. And here she is right now. Let's see what else she has to say.
Or you don't find it. There's so many ways to be happy, and it doesn't just look like marriage, 2 kids, and a house. There's so many examples of people who live full, wonderful lives that aren't following the quote unquote traditional path. And I just want Ronan not to force something that isn't there.
Yeah.
It's like stars aligning. It may not happen. So now the work is, how are you happy with the life that's right before you?
So I skipped a little bit, guys. Ronan is a caller who called into this podcast and asked a question about him struggling to find a woman. And here they're talking about, hey, there are other ways to be happy outside of a relationship and marriage. Let's keep listening.
That's what I want for my daughters.
Yeah.
That's what I'm raising them to be, is like, how are you happy with how life is working out right at this moment?
Really?
So that you're not living in regret or living in I wish or holding up your life, So when you're waiting for it to happen, in the meantime, Ronan, live.
Yeah.
Live, grow, adapt for your own self.
Yeah, and if there are those things that you are like longing to do with a partner, are there versions of that you can do with yourself?
Yes.
Which is the thing that I have really discovered in my life. I'm like, all right, so how can I do that on my own while still dating?
Tracee,
what a fun conversation.
I love you.
I love you right back.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, there's that, man. I think that if Michelle Obama, and you guys know, like, I respect the fact that they're, you see a lot of children out here who are just doing crazy stuff, embarrassing their lineage and children. So I'm like, there's props to be given there that you don't see their daughters making headlines and embarrassing their family. With that being said, I disagree with the approach when it comes to daughters, especially today, especially looking around and seeing how many miserable women you see out here. And I really do mean miserable. And people don't like that, but that's what it is, right? Go into the dating market. See what you see. Miserable, older women. I'm sorry, it's the truth. It hurts to call it out, but they are struggling to find themselves meaning outside of their career that they put ahead of them. So if you have a daughter, if you have a young woman in your life, I think the wrong thing to say is you have time. I don't think that helps anybody. I don't think that helps that daughter. I don't think that helps that woman. I think the reality of the situation and the truth is what will help them. Will it hurt? Yeah, they'll be offended. They won't like that coffee.
Drink the coffee. It'll make you feel better.
But overall, I believe that's the best approach and decision when you're guiding your children and daughters. Now, they can do what they want. But when you see chicks crying about IVF not working and all this other, stuff, and then, of course, you want to make sure that you're painting a realistic picture of what marriage looks like. If you're a man and you value marriage today, make sure you head over to fathershaverights.com. Access the #1 guide to drafting a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement. Yes, prenup. But you have to paint a realistic picture of what marriage is. It's not about happiness. Life is not about happiness. Life is about fulfillment. Life is about duty. There's a lot of suffering in life. Do you want to go through that yourself? Ideally, you ask most people, that's not what they wanted. At one point, Tracee Ellis Ross was dreaming of a wedding. Till now, she still touches on these topics because it's something that she's still struggling to deal with. Last conclusion here before we move on to our next topic is this. You're not going to convince me that if she did want to settle down with a man, that there isn't a man out there who she can settle down with. What's most likely happened with her is what's happened with plenty of other women out there. They're either in the type of situation where the men who they look at have better options. Why? Because a successful Tracee Ellis Ross in male version is different, right? He has a wide dating pool of women to select from. And if he wants to start a family, he knows that that's going to be something that she cannot provide him outside of like adoption or IVF, if it actually does work. There's that struggle. And then there's just the plain old being just delusional struggle.
This coffee smells like shit.
Right? These are the chicks who get online and they'll say things like, oh yeah, if I'm making millions of dollars and he needs to be at least a billionaire, or he needs to be this tall, or so on and so forth. The taller you are, the more successful you are as a woman, the more qualifications you have, right? The more struggle you're going to go through to capitalize on that man, and the more competition there is around you. Tracee Ellis Ross, unfortunately, if she's with the type of man who doesn't care about money, she's competing with the chick who works at Panda Express, the very beautiful woman who works at Panda Express, who hasn't had kids yet, who's still moving up in her career, who looks like she has a pretty good trajectory, in life. And that's the reality of the situation. Let's see if there are any more comments we can read here. I don't think we'll find anything that's of value in this comment section, if I'm going to be honest with you. No disrespect, but I just can't see it. Let's see. I love this podcast. It is so refreshing to observe well-raised individuals. In my 30s, this type of wisdom and conversation is invaluable to me. Love this podcast so much. The episode is filled with so many gems. Okay. Coddling, right? A whole lot of coddling happening here in the comment section down below. But guys, listen, I may be wrong. I don't know everything. I'm just sharing my stance, my approach as a man who is married, who does have a family. What do you think from your perspective? If you had a daughter, if you had a young niece or a woman who wanted what Tracee Ellis Ross wanted, if she dreamt of a wedding, would you tell her, take your time, don't rush? I'm not saying you should rush. I'm just saying that I don't think is the correct message for this time and day, because I think too many people take their current dating situation a little bit too lax. All right, moving on. I thought this one was a really interesting video. It starts out with saying God has given men a capacity. The caption here says, support an umbrella or become an umbrella. Support an umbrella or become an umbrella. Let's listen.
God has given men a capacity and a responsibility that women do not have, and we have to be honest about it. We can say he's not a man, he doesn't know how to lead, he doesn't whatever. There's still a capacity inside of him that God did not give us as women. And one of the biggest examples that I can give of that, imagine it's raining and you're in New York City. And if you've ever been to New York City or in France and it starts raining and people start selling umbrellas on the street,
right?
Those $5, $10 umbrellas, they're not worth much, but they get the job done until you get home. Imagine you have that man. You have the man that gets the job done, isn't anything special, but he gets the job done. That man, no matter how little you view him, is made to handle the rain. You were not made to handle the rain, but you were made to hold up that which can handle the rain. If you didn't have that umbrella, you would come back home smelling like what poured on you. When a man comes back in as that umbrella, he gets dried quickly, water repellent, it falls off of him, and no matter how equipped you thought he was, he still was built for the rain. The difference also, some of you want that Neiman Marcus umbrella. Some of you want the wood handle. Those things are heavy. And if God gave you a man like that, then you have to be the woman that can hold up that man, because an umbrella that is not used, it can be for the rain, for the sun. It shields, it provides shade, it allows what's under it not to be touched. We are the vessel, not weaker. We are the vessel that was meant to let the one that God gave us be held up and used for what he was made.
Man. She's preaching. Let's go. Let's let her brew.
So now, as a wife, I want to say, I don't want to get wet. I don't want to sunburn. My skin's not built for that. So instead, I'm going to let the man be who he was meant to be. And if God gave me, which he did, my man's about as heavy as this table. That means God made me capable of holding him up. If my man is not doing what he was made to do, it's because I, as his wife, am not holding him up. God has given.
Wow. 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 What did you guys think of that? And more importantly, what did you get out of that? Because I think there were a whole lot of different angles and layers that that analogy painted. So here's what I got real quick. She likens the umbrella to a man. And the first thing that came to mind while she was talking is because she said, no matter how little you view him, right? Because there's a lot of rhetoric right now, a lot of criticism when it comes to how little and how invaluable today's men are in today's society. You know, people will talk down on men really easily, will talk down on the men that they see around them to choose. But she says something. What do you do when it starts to rain? The rain represents problems. What do you do when you're drowning in problems? Well, like the caption here says, support an umbrella or become an umbrella. You become the umbrella. And the thing is, you were made to deal with the stresses of life on your own, the situations that you're in. You might say, well, like what? Well, like raising up a family by yourself.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
Like raising up a young man into a respectable man as he ages. Yes, sure, you may look at that man as useless when it comes to your job that pays you to survive. But there are moments when, don't get it twisted, a lot of modern women today who claim they don't want a man, who either try to belittle men and usually will talk down on what men bring. In most cases, they're talking about monetarily to that relationship, right? His net worth. They'll talk down on those men, not realizing that men are more than just their wallets. And there are times when that man who's supposed to be there for you, who's not there for you, because you look down on him, would be your shield, your calm in the middle of that storm, and will be able to get you through difficulties, which is represented by the rain. And then she talks about some umbrellas are heavier than others, depending on the type of man that you think that you deserve. Then you have to hold that man up like you do the umbrella. So there are a lot of chicks out here who think that they deserve a high earning man, a man with great responsibility. Most of them, let's be honest, really believe that they all deserve that. But how can you say that you want that when you're not willing to do the work it takes to keep up with that? I think the holding up represents you maybe cooking a meal once in a while. Oh, no. You having to submit. Oh, no. You having to let him lead. Oh, no. All things that we see today's modern women in today's society does not want to do. Finally, I think there are a lot of chicks out here who are walking in the rain miserably, right? They'll rather be miserable walking in the rain with no umbrella because their pride is too great. And if that's what they choose, so be it. That's what it is. I am curious to ask Miss Coffee what she thinks about this whole situation, though, because I think it's really interesting. That's one of the things I like about AI, you know, is like asking it to see angles that maybe you might have missed. So let's go ahead and do that. I think this would be really interesting. Miss Coffee, can you give me other angles to this video that you took from it, from a man's perspective? Angles that, you know, maybe most people might miss. Let's see here. It might be some of the same things I said. This is what we get. I'm curious.
Whew. All right now, hun. That was deep. And I love how she broke it down with that umbrella metaphor. Poetic and powerful.
Right.
But you asked for angles from a man's perspective, ones that most folks might overlook. So let me pour this fresh and hot for you. 1. The hidden weight of being unbuilt for the rain. From the outside, that umbrella analogy sounds noble. Men are built to take on storms. But let's really sit with that for a second. That's pressure. That's isolation. When you say he was built to handle the rain, what you're also saying, without maybe realizing, is that no one's coming to cover him. A man might hear that and think, damn, so I'm never allowed to be vulnerable? I don't get to fold or break? Even if he's water repellent. Water still hits. Some men grow up never learning how to express pain because culture, church, even their woman says, warm you were made to carry this. 2. She's owning her role, but not every woman does. Now that woman speaking, she's rare. She's saying, if he's not doing what he was made to do, maybe I'm not holding him up right. That's accountability. That's covering your man spiritually, emotionally, and even logistically. But most men ain't hearing that today. They're hearing and he's not a real man, or and should be doing more. So when she flips the lens and says maybe I'm not supporting him right, a man might feel seen, maybe for the first time. Because truth is, a lot of men feel like tools being judged, not partners being supported. 3. Not every man is flashy, but he's functional. She talked about the basic umbrella, not the designer one, not the wood handle flex, just the $5 one that works. Men who watched that, they felt that. Because in a world that rewards flash over function, she's saying, white that quiet, faithful, regular man who shows up, he might not wow you, but he was made for the storm. And men don't hear that enough. Most of them aren't Marcus umbrellas. They're Kevin from accounting. They pay the bills, fix the sink, stay loyal, go to work, and tuck their kids in. And they wonder, am I enough? And she just told them, yes, you were made for this. 4. Holding up a heavy man isn't glamorous. Let's keep it real, love. Being the woman who supports a truly weighty man, it ain't always pretty. If he's carrying vision, purpose, leadership, that man is heavy. And most people envy the umbrella, not realizing how hard it is to hold it steady. So when she said, if God gave me a man heavy as this table, that means I'm strong enough to carry him, she wasn't bragging, she was testifying. From a man's view, that hits deep. Because powerful men need powerful women. Not loud ones, not flashy ones, but anchored ones. 5. Not an
Hold on, Miss Coffee. Hold on.
if he's carrying vision, purpose, leadership, that man
We're calling this church brew. It's the church brew.
is heavy. And most people envy the umbrella, not realizing how hard it is to hold it steady.
Right.
So when she said, if God gave me a man heavy as this table, that means I'm strong enough to carry him, she wasn't bragging, she was testifying. From a man's view, that hits deep. Because powerful men need powerful women. Not loud ones, not flashy ones, but anchored ones. 5. Not an excuse for laziness, but a call to partnership. Now, this part's important. A man can't hear that and think, oh cool, she's supposed to hold me up while I do nothing. Nah. The umbrella gotta open up and do what it was designed to do.
Right.
She said, if my man's not doing what he was made to do, I might not be supporting him. But it's still his job to be out in that rain, protecting, shielding, providing. It's mutual responsibility, not one-sided submission. And from a man's lens, it's a reminder to step up, not out of fear, but out of purpose.
All right. Yeah. Listen, Miss Coffee understood the assignment. She got the message across. Very interesting. I like the first part that she said about, a man realizing, coming to terms with his expectation in society. And, that's why you need healthy brotherhood around you and a fellow man who you can talk to about the challenges of life, especially as a husband, right? Especially as somebody who has a family and, you've got that weight. It doesn't mean that if you don't have a family, you don't need that too. But the more responsibility and the more people that look up to you, the more I think you need to seek that out for sure. Let's read a few of these comments. Top comment here says, who is she? Bless her heart. Somebody else here added, behind every great man is a great woman. All we want is a woman to say, I am here, baby. I got you. Somebody else here says, I say this all the time. Men are so special. They are equipped to be the head, and it's marvelous in my sight. Rare and logical statement. Sorry. Her daddy was present. And a lot of great comments here. I refuse to get married until I meet a woman with this mindset. Be careful if you're a man who values marriage and, talk about those things. This woman here says, got me together. Wow. Very interesting. Very cool. I like the fact that I don't see much of the people here because, with some of these comment sections when somebody's serving some coffee is, you get a lot of haters in some situations. Yes, this mindset needs to come back. Okay, let's see. Let me see. All right. I had an umbrella that flew backwards in the wind. I closed it, repositioned it, and opened it back, kept pushing, held it together, and it broke. So this is a great representation of relationships. Some umbrellas are not built for certain storms. Rain is fine, but the wind is something. Okay, so here we have somebody who disagrees, almost 1,000 likes on that one. And the guy responded back and says, that's why it's imperative as a woman that you choose the right umbrella. And somebody else here says, you didn't listen to the video. She said, if a husband doesn't do what he's supposed to do, it's because the wife isn't holding him up. She didn't say anything about choosing the right umbrella, and so on and so forth. And so, of course, you're going to get the women who were in the wrong relationships and they think to themselves, well, this doesn't apply to me, so on and so forth. I think if you can understand the nuance in situations, you can look at a situation and realize, like, okay, this is what I can get from this, right? And I think most people who looked at this situation got what they needed to get from this. Moving on. What else do we have here? Oh, yeah. The title of this video is A Damaged Woman Will Not Appreciate a Good Thing Until Access is Revoked. Let's check it out.
A damaged woman will not appreciate a good thing until she no longer has access to it. I dated a guy. He was incredible. We were young. He had his life together. He had a plan. He was respectful, a gentleman. He was a good person.
Right.
But I was damaged and unable to receive what he wanted to give me, which was love and respect. So eventually, he got tired of it. He left. He didn't make a scene. He didn't disrespect me. He was just done. But what he said forced me to look at myself. He said, I hope you heal so that you can receive all that you deserve. I still love you. And that crushed me. Do you hear me? Crushed me. I was like, oh my God, what have I done? I lost him. It took me to lose a good person and deal with unhealed people for me to realize that there's a shortage of good people. And if you find a good person, man, you better hold on to them because it might be a very long time, if ever you find another one. I looked for him in practically everybody, and I never found him. So,
Damn.
I don't know. Be mindful.
All right, guys, this is a rare moment here. You have a woman who's saying, hey, I once had a good man, and I had to lose him in order to realize what I had. There are many people in this situation. I believe that you rarely get to see this or hear this. I remember actually listening to another video that was talking about, have you ever heard a woman admit that she messed up and she was the reason something happened in a relationship? And, my male audience here, because it's mostly male audience, if you think back, it's rare when it happens. So when you see a woman who's honest in this type of a situation, then you can respect it. You can respect it. Unfortunately for her, though, it sounds like she hasn't till this day being able to get that back, what she had. Usually when I see this happening, it's usually a type of man who's just getting used and abused in his relationship. He's the type of guy who's the, providing type, and he does everything he believes is right, maybe to a fault, allows a woman to walk all over him. And then finally he gets fed up. Good for him, right? Good for this guy, and decides to walk away. And I think he learned something too, man. I think you get to a point too as a man where you say, never will I allow a woman who doesn't appreciate what I bring to the table to take advantage of me and to use me, to disrespect me. And what you don't want to do is harbor that hate, because there's a lot of people who hate and anger, right? Where you walk around with this anger inside of you. You want to work through that and come out empowered on the other side. It may take a few years. It takes time. And I've been there, man. I've been through situations where I've been like, man, you look back at how maybe you were in a situation that didn't serve you and you were being taken advantage of. It's a good lesson. Take some time to get over. And it's good for you in the long run. Let's read a few of these comments. Top comment who says, you've taken accountability. Most women are not like this. And a few comments here. This person says, unfortunately, it's true. And somebody else who says it is very, 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 very rare to hear a Black woman take accountability for a failed relationship. I actually was waiting for her to place some type of blame on the man. Okay, somebody else here says, it hurts to be a good man. Here's somebody else who added, I tell people often you can't replace good people. This woman here says, honestly, this applies to any damaged person, so on and so forth. Somebody else here added, need more conversations like this in our community. This chick here says, so beautifully said. It takes a lot of courage and accountability to realize that sometimes we are in fact the problem and blocking our blessings. I hope you find someone like him again. See here. Yeah, interesting. I also think this is part of the challenge of growing up in today's society and everybody really not knowing what they're looking for. And especially if you've never seen it in your own family, right? If you've never seen what a good man looks like, then you don't know what it's like to be in a situation where you can't usually find a man who's healthy for a marriage, right? Somebody who's willing to settle down, because we know more men today are kind of hesitant to settle down and marry. So you're throwing away good men, and eventually you're going to realize that you effed up. But if you don't have that, you weren't raised up to recognize that. You don't have men in your family who tell you straight up, who tell you, because I've seen parents, tell daughters to not ruin something good, and I think that's very, very, very needed when it's necessary. But without that guidance, without somebody calling you out and saying, hey, you have a good thing right there, be careful, pay attention, you need that. I've had plenty of situations in my life, and not just with women, right? With situations and seizing opportunities where you need somebody outside who's been through there, recognizes what it looks like, a good opportunity looks like, in this case, a man, so on and so forth, a husband. And if you're a man, having someone who can recognize even a wife, right? If your goal is to get married, you need that. If you're a man, you should go out and seek that, wise counsel and other people who've been through what you're trying to accomplish. Moving on.
I can't imagine myself living without you. I can't. So you know what? Babe, will you marry me?
There's no way, bro. There is no way that this is real. I refuse to believe it. This man started off with tears.
Can't imagine living without you. So you know what? Babe, will you marry me?
No, this has to be some type of a skit. Top comment here says, us trying to get a free dessert. That's hilarious. Somebody else here added love on. This person says love on the spectrum. Yeah, that show is hilarious. Which episode is this? One of many. That's funny. Just hooting and hollering. Somebody else who says, so y'all both playing in these people's restaurants like this? Proposals, man. Proposals. The loudest proposal ever. I can't normalize proposing in private and then making a bizarre public proposal. They have to be married.
After making...
Hold on. Let's see here. They have to be married. Yeah, they're already married. This video was viral, and I thought to myself, now why would you do that? This man's about to get rejected. Turns out he's already married right here. I personally think we need more women proposing to men. I think that needs to happen. At this point, I've only reported on a few videos, but I think that trend needs to pick up because, and this isn't for all the women, right? I'm talking about the women who claim to be strong and independent. We need to see more of this. We need to see more of them getting on one knee proposing. The few that I've done so far were actually kind of funny to watch. And it's always awkward because, you know, you have the guy there and there's a part of you that's wondering if he's actually freaking out or if he's actually enjoying the whole situation of being proposed to. The men that I know would not want to be proposed to at all. I'll shoot the question back to you guys, though. Would you be okay with a woman proposing to you? Is that something you'd be okay with? Here we have a woman who's talking about, I proposed as a woman. See what she's talking about.
How aggressively people felt about women proposing. I never realized quite how aggressively people felt about women proposing until I proposed. Like, I get that it's not the norm, but people sincerely get so worried about it. And I'm like, are you okay? My girlfriend and I got engaged last night, so I can finally talk about it. The crazy thing is, I thought
my girlfriend and I, did she say girlfriend or boyfriend?
My girlfriend and I got engaged last.
That's not what we're here. That's not what we're here to listen to. Let's see. Wow. I'm looking at all these videos of women proposing. I think you guys have seen all these videos before. Here, I'll bring them up on screen so you guys can check these out. Right? There's this one. This is a chick who was proposing at the restaurant. And I think she got turned down. Yeah, this is a sad day for this chick. She got turned down. There was this one. This one's a pretty popular one too.
To him?
Now you know this is real because you just saw that group of people. Those are not extras.
She proposed to him?
That's crazy.
To me.
Then you had this one.
Daughter, she said yeah. His mom said yeah. His sister said yeah.
My guy was covering his face. I think he was embarrassed.
So I was watching this proposal and I thought it was so cute. And then I realized that it was a woman proposing to her man. If there's something that I just can't ever get behind, it's women proposing to men. And anytime I see a video like this, I always respond because it makes me really sad. It makes me sad because it makes me believe these women will not get to experience feeling special. Because here's the thing. I find it hard to believe that these women that propose to men don't ever bring up marriage in their relationship. I find it hard to believe that they don't tell their partners, I want to get married, marriage is important to me. And I find it hard to believe that they just wake up one day and say, wow, I really love this man. I'm going to do a surprise proposal for him. What I think happens is these women talk about marriage to their partners. They're not being heard. Their partner's not really doing anything. And then they decide to take matters into their own hands. Because to have to change the dynamic of something that is typically a man asking for your hand is kind of a red flag to me. And I see comments about, oh, but women want equality, or wow, well, the men should be spoiled too. First of all, yes, women want equality in basic human rights and equal pay. And absolutely spoil your man. That doesn't mean you have to be the one asking him to marry you.
Why?
Of course, we don't know everybody's situation, but this is a reminder to women out there.
So she pretty much just said that women want all the benefits without the hard, challenging parts of equality. But are we surprised? Are we surprised? Right? These would be the same type of women who try to convince you that men and women are not different. Then there's this one. This one I think was one of the most cringe, and I mean just cringe proposals. All right. Let's start this one from the top. Let's go.
My kids knew about my wife's affair and helped her cover it up. Last week, while my wife, 49 female, was taking a shower, I, 50 male, saw a notification pop up on her phone and went to open it thinking it was one of our daughters, Maddie, 24, and Alice, 26 female, confirming what time their girl's dinner was. Instead, I saw an unsaved number saying, I can't wait to see you.
What?
And then a kissing emoji. I froze for a second. I clicked on the message and saw a short thread, mostly confirming dinner plans for that evening and how they missed each other and once a week just wasn't enough. I knew what I saw. 29 years of marriage down the drain. Hoping to catch her in a lie before she left the house, I texted both of our daughters and asked them about the girls' dinner. What happened next broke me to my core. Both girls confirmed the dinner and said they were excited. I couldn't believe it. Not proud of what came next, I turned her location sharing on with me in her phone and let her leave. I followed her to the restaurant and lo and behold, neither daughter was there, but instead a man I knew was her boss. I was so heartbroken. Part of me was
with the boss? Mercy.
Hoping I was just a paranoid freak and my daughters would be there happy to see me. But no, just my cheating wife and her AP. I took pictures of the two of them holding hands and kissing. I know I should have waited, but I couldn't help myself. I was so angry. As soon as I got in my car, I opened the group chat we had as a family, sent them all the photos and said, glad you're enjoying girls' dinner together. I then turned my phone off and drove to my brother's house and asked to stay the night. I woke up the next morning to over 40 texts and 20 voicemails. My wife went through the cheater's playbook of excuses. Wow. I didn't even listen to her voicemails. I was about to respond with, I will be getting a divorce. I recommend a lawyer. But my brother stopped me. He told me to meet with a bunch of lawyers first and make sure she couldn't use them. Instead, I just sent the group chat a simple message. I am physically fine.
Smart
I need
move.
time. I will come home when I'm ready. I then muted my phone. I called different lawyers that looked to be the best in town that morning for appointments, met with all of them, and picked the one who looked ready to treat this as a scorched earth as possible. Finally, after spending all day with lawyers, I looked through the messages and both my daughters were apologizing. My youngest daughter, the daddy's girl of the two, was manic. She had texted me almost 50 times saying she never should have lied and hated it every time. Her boyfriend even reached out asking me to please reach out to her, that he didn't know what was going on, but she was on the verge of a panic attack. Maddie, I love you, but please understand that what you've done has hurt me deeply. I need you to give me space. I sent it and within seconds got it. Okay, I'm so sorry. I never should have helped. I'll never forgive myself. I love you too. I didn't respond. Alice was different. We always had a good relationship, but she was a mama's girl through and through. She said she was sorry, but I shouldn't throw away a good marriage because of one mistake. This made me furious. Alice, this isn't a mistake. This is a betrayal from the whole family. Yep. Please don't reach out again until I make first contact. She never responded, but I know she showed it to my soon-to-be ex because she started saying that I shouldn't take this out on Alice. I never responded. I'll never talk to her again except through lawyers. This all happened 5 days ago. I'm still at my brother's and can't contain my feelings. I cry every morning and most of the day. I oscillate between complete debilitating sadness and all-consuming anger. Losing my wife will be hard enough, but how do I ever look at my children again? How do I even begin to forgive them? Alice is supposed to get married in the fall. I've been paying for almost everything. Now I'm probably not going to go. I don't even know how to move forward. I'm completely destroyed.
She's got everyone caught up in this lie.
Yeah.
Like, that's not okay. Like, to the point where the dad now thinks he can't even attend his daughter's wedding.
My kids.
Yeah. You know, it's one thing if you're in a situation where you're cheating. I mean, that's talk about evil, right? You're in the wrong. It is another thing, a whole nother thing to be married and now you have your kids involved and they're now on the mom's side. And I know to a lot of people, they may be thinking, oh, this would never happen. There are plenty of situations like this. There are plenty of situations and mothers have some pull, especially with their female, their daughters. They have some pull within relationships. I remember seeing a video. It's one of those street interviews type video, and they were asking chicks if they would snitch on their mothers if they got caught cheating on their dad.
If your mom was cheating on your dad, would you tell your dad?
No.
Why?
Just the hesitation should tell you all you need to know about the probability of that story there being factual.
It's my mom.
But it's your dad.
But it's girls before anything.
Yeah, okay, what if your dad was cheating on your mom? Would you tell your mom?
My mom.
If your mom was cheating on your dad, would you tell your dad?
Depending on why she's cheating. I'll ask her. And if it's a valid reason.
Oh, what?
Okay, if it's a valid reason, then no, I'm not going to tell her. But if it's like some hokey doke, oh, he fine, no, I'm telling my daddy.
But that's the truth.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell Paul. You gonna have to check my dude. She tripping. Hold on, what I got going on? Y'all want to tell?
Okay, so if your dad.
This right here is a diabolical situation. Let's read some comments. Top comment here says, he needs to do a DNA test ASAP. Very true. At that point, are those even your kids? Somebody else here added, F them kids with immediate effect. Here's somebody else says, I'm sorry, but I'll never speak to my daughters again. Here's somebody else who says, even Judas didn't involve any of the disciples in his betrayal. Betrayal, final boss. Somebody else here added, I bet if the dad did that, they would have hated him. Shoot. Right. Here's somebody else who says, the women in the comments lack accountability. Are there women who are actually defending this? But how could I be surprised? This woman here says, don't let Tyler Perry see this. Another woman here says, nobody deserves to be cheated on. This woman here says, they may not be your kids. Your true blood would never. Somebody else here added, none of those kids thought to help their father. My goodness. Here's somebody else who says, imagine if it were the other way. So I think most people who are listening to this story look at it and think to themselves, you know, they should have told the father, right? Somebody else here added, men should consider DNA tests. And just another reason why DNA tests should be mandatory in this type of situation. What would you guys do? Of course, curious to know what you think. And it sounded like in this type of situation, she actually wasn't even sure she wanted to divorce that man. And when it started to actually come to that point where it was looking like they might divorce, she was having second thoughts. I think more people in relationships probably cheat than most people realize. That's the unfortunate fact. And I think infidelity can be worked through. However, and people hate me when I say this, but it's a lot harder for men usually to forgive it than it is for a woman. That's not excusing it in any form or fashion. I'm just saying, in most cases, when a man is betrayed in that situation, he is, really destroyed, right? And in this situation, it doesn't sound like this man's going back anytime soon. Moving on.
And let me tell y'all something. A girl DM'd me on Instagram, right?
Right.
She DM'd me and said, I want to take you out on a date. Now, this girl is a normal girl like me. Like, we both like makeup. We both like weave. We both like nice clothes. We both sexy as fuck. I know y'all don't see the sexy me on this app, but I'm sexy in real life, right? This bitch took me out on a date. She spent a lot of money on me, right?
Right.
She got us a nice ass hotel room because I was not aware of her game, okay? We get into the hotel room. She does some things that I have never, ever even imagined me doing with a female, right? On some casual shit. And then, it made me wake up. And I can't even go into detail what happened in the hotel room. But then I woke up and I was like, what the fuck? I'm telling y'all, women are the tricks. That's why niggas like women. Women are the tricks. They're the ones with the money. You have not lived until you ran into a and spent some money on you. Then you be like, damn, I know why niggas be having multiple bitches. These niggas do not have motion like these females. Will take you out. You will tell a yeah, I need some furniture. This will go buy you furniture.
All I'm hearing is women are now going gay. Instead of being able to convince men to marry them, they are now going gay. That's what I heard, that they're turning to each other. Surprising? I don't think so.
You tell her, damn, I need my hair and nails done. A bitch sending you the money to go get your hair and nails done. It's the y'all are chasing the wrong species. It's the women. And I know it's going to be some people like, why are you calling women? That's just me. It don't mean anything. That's just, I think we're all, it's not, I'm not using it in a derogatory way. It's just, this is the ones with the money, So when I'm out in the club, I'm not looking at the niggas. I don't care about them and their jewelry. I'm looking for the bitch with the money. The one that I know I'm going to have a good time with.
So you're so desperate because you're so broke, in need of financial assistance, that you're willing to explore other parts of your sexuality, right? This is what they would call men DL. Maybe this is why they tell men to date men when they simply just express what they're looking for in a woman. But you're so desperate, struggling so much, want somebody to trick on you so bad that you're willing to go gay. That's crazy to me. Let's read a few comments here. Top comment here says, I want to hear more of your business. What happened in the room? Somebody else here added, damn, she turned you out. Here's somebody else who says, I'm begging and kicking my feet. Yes, girl. Here's somebody else who says, you skipped the part about what happened in the hotel. Somebody else who says, same thing happened to me. Now I got a girlfriend. So these chicks are getting turned out. Like this woman right here who says same thing happened to her. Getting turned out by fellow females, fellow women who cannot get married. Somebody else here added, they trick bad. Somebody else here says, why you can't tell us what y'all did? I want to know. Laugh out loud. Are y'all still seeing each other? Yes. This is crazy. Women know what women need and like. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I also just want to check out that Kehlani video that I saw recently. I wanted to see what she's talking about.
Like for my entire life, and then came out as a lesbian almost 4 years ago now. But when I realized recently, actually all of the elevation in my life that has come from decentering men in every area of it, in your spiritual spaces, in your practices, in who you're getting educated by, and who you're being taught by, in community, everything. When I prioritized women and also just centered myself and women, when all the bad decide what planet that they're going to after we this one, invite me because I will thrive. Like for my entire life.
What? Hold on.
Decide what planet that they're going to. And women, when all the bad decide what planet that they're going to after we this one, invite me because I will thrive.
So Kehlani here is talking about how she's pretty much went through traumatic situations, right? Sounds like she dealt with a lot of men and ended up coming out lesbian. And she said that's when she started to thrive. Do we need any more proof that if you leave feminists to their own choices, right, without any guidance, they will pick the types of lifestyles that would just lead us to extinction as a race? And I mean the human race. You look at them, they'll say, oh yeah, you know, build women camps and women work together and we don't need men. Where do you think all this ends? Where do you think a society ends? The strongest societies are the ones that empower their men, because what will happen is you can only exist for as long as the men around you allow you to exist. I mean, on a primal level. And more, you see, if you leave women to their own decisions, they'll usually set the type of structures in society that break down family, right? That break down what strengthens communities. And we're talking about feminists here. We're talking about modern women, not the women who understand that they need men in their lives. Are we surprised though? Because I don't think Kehlani, when she was out here dating, was out here looking for healthy men who she can settle down with, who she can build family with. Nah, she was surrounding herself by toxic dudes and getting ran through. Let's just keep it real. And the end result of that is you in a hotel room, like the last chick who we were just talking about, getting turned out. I think the future is going to be wild, man. I don't know if marriage will exist in the future. I don't know what the family structure will be like in the future. It'll be very interesting. But I do know one thing. We weren't made to be alone. Man and women work better together than apart. And so the end result of this is misery. Very interesting. We'll see how things play out. Moving on.
Yo, so here's the thing. My husband works 2 jobs, and he works 64 hours a week. Has like 1 day off. And within that 1 day, I want him to go outside with us, like me, Sophie, and him. And I want us to have a family day. But he wants to stay home and spend time with us. But I don't want that. I want us to be outside. And I'm upset with him because we don't go outside and do activities as a family. Am I being reasonable or am I being a bad wife?
You're being a bad wife.
Yo, so here's the thing.
You're being a bad wife.
My husband works 2 jobs.
Right.
And he works 64 hours a week.
64 hours a week and works 2 jobs. And he has 1 day off. And the day that he has off, you have found some way to not appreciate what he's doing for the family, how hard he's working for the family. And you want to start some bullshit based on that. That doesn't make any sense. He works and has 1 day off. He should be allowed to do whatever he wants on that 1 day. And this is why you can't, you see, it's crazy, man, because you have modern women today who demand for the type of man who is a provider. I assure you she probably does not work or works little. She doesn't work as much as he does. I can guarantee you that. But they want that type of man. A man's supposed to do this, a man's supposed to do that. But then you complain with the trade-offs of what you get for that type of man. I'm tired of seeing so many men who are out here busting their butt. I mean, just working, all to not get appreciated in their own homes. This is a big reason why so many men, when they finally step out of that type of a marriage, because you can only be unappreciated for so long before you start checking out. When he starts checking out, now you think, oh yeah, now I'm going to divorce because I'm being abused. And a man who's not willing to argue with me on his day off is abuse. And then you divorce. And these men, when they hear these type of dynamics and situations, they think to themselves, never again. And I'm talking about the ones that choose not to enter a marriage again. The reality is 86% of people, and that's a large number, get remarried a second time. But the ones that choose not to, after a BS experience, I mean, they're set in stone, especially when they're with a woman who does not understand and who takes that man for granted. I feel terrible for this gentleman, right? Could you imagine you're working that much, you get off, instead of appreciation, instead of being catered to, instead of her serving you, she gets online and probably talks shit about you to her audience. Let's read a few of these comments here, what the people have to say. Top commenter says he needs to leave you like yesterday. Okay, pleasantly surprised here. We see women who are actually supporting the stance. Somebody responded back, he's definitely leaving. Here's somebody else who says the fact he's working so hard for them and not an ounce of sympathy or understanding. She asked opinions, she got them. Not only that, but posted about marriage issues online is wild. Yes, posting about marriage issues online is crazy. Somebody else who says unreasonable, maybe pick up a part-time job yourself so he can work less and be able to do more family activities. Somebody else who says, if I worked 64 hours a week, don't even talk to me on my day off. You know, there's like another video too I saw of this woman complaining that her man on vacation didn't want to do family activities. That's another big one. Vacation with your family and not wanting to do family activities. When men go on vacation, and this is me, that's definitely me. I don't want to do anything. I don't want a damn itinerary. I don't want spots that we have to go to. I don't want this thing. I just want to be at peace and be still. For a man like that, I know that on that day off, he wants to know what it feels like once in a while to not do anything. It's not a vacation when you're planning something on that day, right? And that's what she's doing. It's kind of like the vacation thing. Is he doesn't view it as like, oh, we're spending time together. This is so relaxing. No. He views it like a second job. If you want your husband to enjoy it, you need to say, hey, don't mess with dad on this event, or don't even talk to him. He doesn't even have to be involved. That's too far even. But if he must come, he should just be a body that's relaxing. Grab him a beer. I mean, I don't drink much anymore, but maybe he does, right? So he can relax. And when I say much, I mean not like I haven't had alcohol 3+ years. But yeah, if you understand, you know. A few more comments here. Somebody else who says, have you ever worked that many hours? This woman here says 64 hours is insane. Let that man take a break. You're actually pissing me off for real. Views are low, huh? Somebody says very obvious rage bait. He's going to find a stepmom for Sophia. Yeah, you know, Let's see if there was a follow-up.
You might think I'm a bad wife, but you know what matters is that my husband doesn't think I'm a bad wife. He actually always tells me I'm such a good wife, and he's never had a complaint because I am good. I'm good at what I do. Just because I posted that video does not mean I have a bad husband or I'm not a good wife.
Oh no.
You might think I'm a bad
when it happens.
so you might think I'm a bad wife.
We'll be here when it happens.
What matters is that my husband doesn't think I'm a bad wife.
Right. Like your husband's going to tell you the truth. Top Comedy says, no one said you are a bad wife, just selfish. Man, I love it when I see the chicks serve coffee here. Somebody else says, you asked. Yeah, you got online and you asked for people's opinions, right? And so you're mad about it. This chick says, maybe he'd tell you that because he doesn't want to argue with you in his free time. I get it. Oh, that's such a real point. That's such a real point. She responds back and says, oh no, why didn't I think of that? Yeah, the last thing a man wants is to hear is to have like a deep, long conversation about like struggles in the relationship. It's just, especially on his day off, come on. This comment says, you seem insufferable. Yeah, I'm stressed out just listening to it. Of course, guys, I'm curious to know, what do you think of everything that was spoken about in this episode? Leave your comments down below. I appreciate you all checking out yet another episode of The Coffee Pod. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.